Hello friends, welcome to my channel. In this video I am going to discuss about the Victorian age. Though I discuss this age in detail, trends, writers and things like that. So in this video we will be focusing on the key philosophies of the Victorian age, right? And we will discuss this Victorian age with respect to Victorian poetry. So let's begin. As you know about this age, age is named after Queen Victoria, right? She became queen at the age of 18, and her rule was the longest in British history. So we do not need to discuss Queen Victoria. What our concern is the characteristics of the poetry of Victorian age and the major philosophies of this age. So at this age, the growth of British Empire was at its peak, as you see in the above map, right? England grew to become the greatest nation on earth, and further women questions. Yes, important key events include women's suffrage, right? This in this age the women got the freedom to vote, right? Votes for the freedom happened in 1918. And positive aspects of this age include industrial revolution. As you know, industrial revolution, it has its evil effects as well. And obviously it has positive aspects, right? Due to industrial revolution, life become very easy. Machines, tech, and the things or the works which have been done in a very slow manner by hands can be done very fast by machines. And there is advancement in technology, knowledge, and everything. Factory system emerge, vehicles and things like that. Technological advancement include introduction of steam engine, right, and other important inventions, machinery, and economic progress, obviously. And Britain became the greatest economical power in the world, and in 1901 the USA became the leader, and Britain remained the first in manufacturing. And the negative aspects, yes, it obviously the negative aspects of industrial revolution: pollution, labor force, child labor, and lack of hygienic conditions, right? Pollution due to industrialization. And Victorian compromise, it is an important concept, right? So it refers to the morals values of Victorian, right? The people, they are more concerned about the moral values, and they were get moralizers. They just supported personal duty, hard work, decorum, respectability, and chastity, especially with respect to women, right? Women were expected to be moral and following restraints or the moral values of the society. And important thing, even there were just such extreme repression that even the furniture lacks to be concealed under heavy clothing, not to be suggestive, right? There were such extreme level of moral values. And new ideas were discussed and debated by large part of society. And the middle class, they were obsessed with gentility, respectability, and decorum. And further, uh, yes, women were subjected to male authority. It was a patriarchal society, male dominant society. And they were expected to marry and make a home, a refugee for their husbands. And important thinkers of Victorian age include John Stuart Mill, who was a philosopher and who created two ideas: utilitarianism and liberalism. So you will also study about his work, right? His essay of liberty of thought and discussion by John Stuart Mill in your prose as well. So he gave these two concepts: utilitarianism, which means the object of moral action was to bring the greatest good for the greatest amount of people, and liberalism, liberty. It often talks about liberty in his essays: liberty of thought, liberty of speech, expression. And he, in his essay of liberty, he also discussed this concept, liberalism, that government had the right to restrict action of individual only and only when those actions harm others. Otherwise we cannot have the right to restrict the freedom or liberty of another person. And in his essay of liberty, he writes that if one person have if all the people have one opinion and one person have contrary opinion, then we cannot have the right to repress his right of expression, right? And he talks about freedom of speech. And Charles Lyell, right, he just showed that geographical features on earth had developed continuously and over immense period of time. Charles Darwin, yes, it is very important to discuss Darwin and his theories and his concepts, and his survival of the fittest theory, theory of natural selection, evolution as well. So Darwinism, which is a phenomena in Victorian age as well, right? We will discuss later determinism as well. So Karl Marx, as you study about him in your history as well, right, in first semester, Karl Marx and his theories and his dialectical materialism and his books about economics, Das Capital, and things like that. So his study about the harm caused by industrialism, he talks about communism and capitalism as well. And Friedrich Nietzsche, his nihilism, and Sigmund Freud theories, psychoanalytical theories, right? And key philosophies, these are important. The key philosophies of Victorian age, and the first one is realism. I think you have the idea about that. Realism, so it was a realistic moment in fiction, right, which emphasized on real portrayal of things, right, in 1870 and lasting through the turn of the century. And realism refers not only to fiction that is realistic, but to fiction that shows a concern with social convention. For example, how to behave in various social situations, social behaviors. And it shows an appreciation for industrial, commercial, and technological progress. And it uses contemporaneous middle class subjects and subject matters, and their newfound wealth allowed the middle class to become a reading market. And it has a didactic purpose, to teach you a lesson, writing in order to hold a mirror up to the middle class society, to show them their flaws, right, their errors, and instruct them on improvement. Is socially determinist. This is the notion of Darwin as well, based on the notion of Darwin, biological determinism and adaptation. And his biological determination refers to that the genes determine your behaviors and things like that. And individuals determined or influenced by the pressure and forces beyond his or her control. And we will discuss that in naturalism as well, right? Here comes in naturalism. So naturalism was an offshoot movement of realism. It is also related with realism, or you can say it is the extent of realism, right, occurring in late 1980s. So it takes the realist idea of social determinism to its furthest extreme. And what do you mean by social determinism? Social determinism means that the society determine your fate. For example, if you are poor, if you are born poor, then it is your fate to be poor, right? And the individual has no free will and entirely determined by external forces beyond his or her control. And so you can see further explanation of naturalism, that it depicted real people in real situation like realism, but it believed that the forces larger than individual nature, fate, heredity, such forces shape individual destiny. And the characteristics of naturalism include characters such as ill-educated or lower class, and the criminals and the fallen. And the major themes of naturalism include survival, man against nature, or the man against himself, and determinism means nature has indifferent force on the lives of human beings. And many writers write about naturalism. You can say that Thomas Hardy, a naturalist writer, right? So it is not like the nature towards nature or the treatment towards nature as discussed by Wordsworth in romantic poetry. It is no, it's a different concept. And further naturalism, yes, as I already told you, naturalist writer Thomas Hardy called the concept of immanent will. And Thomas Hardy often talks about fatalism, right, or the role of fate in his writings. And you will study his novel The Return of the Native, in which the fatalism, role of fate, he had discussed. And things like that, he had discussed how natural forces control our actions. So naturalism turned to be lower class subject matter, and social problems such as prostitution, alcohol, drug abuse, and domestic abuses. And another philosophy, naturalism, I've discussed that. Yes, another philosophy, important philosophy, is Marxism. As already been discussed, this was the theory of Karl Marx, right? The economic, he discussed about capitalism as well, and the economic and political theories of Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, that hold the human actions and institution are economically determined. And Karl Marx often talks about the class struggle, right, which is needed to create historical change. And he talks about materialism, yes, dialectical materialism, or the materialistic needs of people, and the class struggle to survive, and ideology, set of ideas and beliefs. And Sigmund Freud's psychoanalytical theories related to psychology, right? So it was a philosophical set of human nature, and it is approach to therapy and therapy of personality as well. So he often talks about human psychology and emphasize on uh, the levels of mind, right? Conscious, unconscious, subconscious. And psychoanalytical theory, and where he talk about developmental life, right? Unconscious are those which contain all the feelings, urges, or instincts that are beyond our control, right? uh, Beyond our control or awareness, unconscious things, and which affect our expression, feelings, and actions. For example, slip of tongue, dreams, and wishes. And preconscious are the facts stored, or you can also call them subconscious. They are stored in the part of brain which are not conscious but available for possible use in future. For example, a person will never think of her home address at the moment when her friend asks for it, and she can easily recall it because it is in her subconscious mind. And conscious are the actions of which are under our control, right? Conscious. And This flipping of the page. Again flipping of the page. Why this happening, I don't know. Yes, conscious only level of mental life that are directly our control or available to us, thoughts and feeling. And decadent movement, yes, you know about aesthetic movement and decadent movement, I think so. So it was in late 19th century movement, artistic and literary movement of Western Europe, and it focused on art for art's sake. As I have discussed this concept in almost most of my videos, right? Aesthetic movement, art for art's sake, with reference to Oscar Wilde and Keats as well. So it means that art is only for the sake of art. Art has do not have any other purpose, but it is only for the sake of art. Art does not have didactic purpose or some other purpose, but only for art. And decadent writers use elaborate stylized language and discusses taboo things, you know, the restricted things, that Oscar Wilde, as part of decadence movement, he discussed taboo concepts, right? And unsavory topics such as death, depression, sexualities. And decadence means decline in what, in abstract sense, is now most often used to refer to perceived decay in standards, morals, dignity, religious faith, and things like that. So here it ends. This was about aesthetic. Yes, right. Last thing is aesthetic movement or aestheticism. So it is again the same thing or similar to decadent movement, art for art's sake, right? Doctrine that art exists for the sake of its beauty alone, not any other didactic purpose. So characteristics of poetry, Victorian poetry, it reflects the society of Victorian era, and most writers were social reformers. They talks about social problems, right, and came up with reformation to solve these problems in the society. And they were heirs to romantics, means they were descendants of romantics, right? Generalizations about romantic poetry still apply. And they often talks about distrust of organized religion, skepticism, lack of faith, mysterious things. And Victorian poets were more likely to have scientific conviction of God's absence. And Victorian poets have followed traditional style. Some were follow classical things such as Matthew Arnold, and so we'll see skepticism, religion versus science in Matthew Arnold poetry as well, Dower Beach. And we will also lack of faith. It will be discussed by DJ Rossetti in the choices as well. So you will be discuss learn about the poets, right? Victorian poets in Victorian poetry. So thank you for watching.